Welcome viewers. What do you think will happen to Trump 159. But before we proceed, if you are new to my channel, please take a minute of your precious time to hit the subscribe button below and turn on the notification bell to get the latest updates from us. Michael Fannon is a CNN law enforcement analyst who served for 20 years with the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. The views expressed here are his own. Read more opinion at CNN. At the first public hearing of the January 6 committee on Thursday, U.S. Capitol Police Officer Carolyn Edwards described how, flanked by hundreds of law enforcement from around the Washington, D.C. region, she battled for hours to fend off a violent mob intent on upending American democracy. Her testimony was the emotional core of a dramatic day that also featured a chilling, documentary-style film that captured the storming of the Capitol. For those of us in law enforcement who put our bodies on the line defending the pillar of American democracy, watching the harrowing footage and hearing Edwards recount the events of January 6 meant reliving an unspeakable nightmare. Michael Fannon's descriptions of the mayhem she confronted on January 6 were not just dramatic, they were horrific. The protest was bloody and unspeakably violent. Scores of officers were grievously injured. One Capitol police officer lost his life after suffering a stroke following the assault on the Capitol. 4 other officers were so emotionally devastated after hours of brutal hand-to-hand combat against the rioters that they took their own lives. I was in the hearing room during Edwards' testimony, and like millions of people watching the hearing on television screens across the country, I hung on to her every word. She described slipping in the blood of her colleagues as police fell all around her. There were officers on the ground. They were bleeding. They were throwing up. I saw friends with blood all over their faces. And yet inexplicably, there are conspiracy theorists including current and former officials in government and prominent members of the media who maintain that January 6 did not happen or that the violence experienced by those of us on the front lines was greatly exaggerated. The most impactful moments from the first night of the January 6 hearings. 5:03 I'm no longer a cop, but I spilled my fair share of blood that day and almost lost my life defending our democracy. Don't tell me January 6 didn't happen. I was there. I have the scars visible and those that can't be readily seen to prove it. So, hasn't the country already heard all this? Does America really need another recounting of the almost medieval combat that officers on the front lines of the fighting endured? The answer is absolutely yes. It's important that Americans see the hell depicted in the video footage to have a hint of an understanding of what law enforcement endured at the Capitol that day. It's imperative that the country see how valiantly we fought to save our system of government. And it's vital that the public understand just how close the country came to losing its democracy. Accountability for the treachery of January 6 rests mostly at the very pinnacle of our government. And the American public is not the only audience that the Select Committee is addressing in these hearings. Just as the officers at the Capitol were the last line of defense on January 6, the Justice Department is the last line of defense for our democracy in making sure that those who are responsible for this affront to our democracy pay a steep price. As the committee resumes its work, I hope that the prosecutors will be listening closely. What is your take on this matter? Please tell us in the comments and remember to subscribe as well. Thanks for watching.